Hello, 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 everyone. It is Teresa from Teresa's Silhouette Spot for all things art, where I love sharing art from my heart and teaching creatives and crafters how to paint for fun and profit. How is everyone tonight? Welcome to the Rustic Jars and the Love Banner painting that we're doing tonight. I have a few other of my, well, this is a duplicate right there, but more of my Valentine coupley kind of paintings up already. So let me turn my camera around and we will get started. So I have out the paint we need, cobalt blue, black and white. And then I have a dark brown, a light brown, in this case it's cafe latte, a tan, and I'm using fawn, but you can use linen, Hauser light green, and a deep burgundy, but you can use red. As usual, all my colors are suggestions. You can use whatever you have on hand or your favorite colors. Maybe you want to use a bright red instead of a deep red. Totally up to you. So I have an 11 by 14 canvas. I have printed out the tracer for it. I'm going to eyeball it. You can get a ruler. You can measure it. You can do it however you want. I prefer to eyeball it, and so that's what I'm doing. I'm gonna put a little piece of tape up there. So now my template can hinge. I'm gonna get this well-used and well-traced piece of graphite paper. I'm gonna slip it in, shiny side down. If it's shiny side up, you will not be tracing. You will just be coloring on the back of your paper. Okay. So if you want a ruler for the straight line, which is the tabletop, feel free to grab one. I am just going to wing it. So I use a stylus. You can use a pen, a pencil. You can use the back of your paintbrush, whatever you like. I try not to be too particular. If you noticed, my tracer does not actually go all the way to the edge of the canvas. So when I have the straight lines, like for the banner and the tabletop, I will just scooch them out so they cross over to the edge of my canvas. It's not a big deal. The tracer does not have to be perfect, so it goes edge to edge of your canvas. Now I'm putting in the X and the O and the heart. It may be at some point after we paint our jars in, we won't be able to see it, but I think we can all then paint in the X and the O. You can use a pencil first if you can't see your lines, or a piece of chalk, or just freehand it. And the same thing with love here. They're just narrow, almost array done, printed lettering. Okay. So I'm going to come up here. I'm going to do the banner. And it just sweeps across. And then I'm going to go off the edge. This is one of my very first paintings. It's actually even one of the very first paintings I taught. And I love it. I love how it's versatile. I love the neutral colors. Sometimes when I'm doing circles and I want to be precise, I will pick up whatever I have around and near me, which is usually a bottle of paint, and I will use that. Now these you don't have to put on here. You can just let them go where they may. Sometimes I add in these little details, sometimes I don't. When I'm doing a class, I try to follow as precisely as possible, because I know people appreciate that. If you were to have like a little heart template or a little heart stencil, you can use that up there, and you can use it on these hearts in this jar, but I'm just freehanding it and tracing it on here using my template with my stylus. Some of them are tiny and some of them are larger. I'm saving the middle flowers for last, and I'll tell you why in just a second. These simple shapes, the hearts and the banners and stuff, are easy enough to fill in. These 3 flowers here take a little bit more of a skill. You want to get them blended right. You want to have the shading. So when I do elements that might take a little bit more of an effort, a little bit more teaching, I will trace them in smaller than they actually are, because I know as I'm trying to blend and shade, I will fix and enhance and keep going. And then my flowers or whatever element it is will grow. This way I trace them in a little bit smaller. And this way when they grow, we're good. Okay. So there is my entire trace design. Okay. So I will put this aside and we will get started. One of the first colors we want to get out is white and a little bit of the cobalt blue. I'm gonna make some room here with my brushes. There we go. A little bit of blue is going to go a long way. You only need a tiny bit, not even the size of a quarter. And some white. I buy certain colors in bigger jars. So that is why I put them in these condiment squeeze bottles so that it's easier and neater to pour. I'm moving my camera a little bit. Okay. There we go. Is that better? I think that's better. Okay. So I am going to turn my canvas sideways and I'll explain why. We're going to take our bigger flat brush. In this case, I'm using about a 1/2 inch flat brush. And by flat, I mean it's flat across the top, and 1/2 inch, I mean it's about a 1/2 inch wide. I can tell you that this is a number 12. However, brushes across all different brands are not universal brush sizes. So what is a 12 in folk art may not necessarily be a 12 in artist's loft or whatever. So, okay. Now I turned my canvas horizontal. I dipped my brush in some water and then I squeezed it out on the paper towel so we don't have any water dripping, okay? And then I'm going to fill my brush with paint. I'm just gonna come over here to the edge. I'm gonna apply a little bit of pressure to my brush as I pull some paint out to the side. I'm not gonna go dipping right into the middle of my puddle. I'm just pulling out to the side, and I wanna put a little bit of pressure on my brush so it flares out and gets full of paint, okay? Now I'm gonna pick up some of the blue and I'm gonna work that into my brush as well, okay? Okay. Now I'm going to start down here and I want to outline where I'm going to be putting the blue. I'm going to outline all of the elements. Pick up a little bit more. I may get a different brush. I don't like how this brush is acting. So I thought that was a good one. Yeah, I'll use this one. Okay. Same size, different brush. This one's got a green handle. Okay, so I'm going to load it up with the white again. I'm going to pick up some of the blue and I'm going to work it in. So now that I have outlined, I'm going to take my brush and I'm going to start painting in the background horizontally. And I don't want to have too much mixture of my paint. I want to keep it blue and white. I want to be able to see the various shades as I work on this. We don't want to over mix. We want to see the lines and the different colors. So I'm going to go back and I'm going to dip a corner in white and a corner in blue, and I'm going to keep going. Now, we don't have to go around these hearts perfectly, not by any means, because we're going to go back in and we're going to paint the hearts in here last. We just want to kind of have an idea of where they are. If you want, and if you're watching this on the recording, you can do all of this background and then go back in and trace in your flowers, your jars, all the hearts, whatever. You don't have to do it on here at first, but that is totally up to you. And you could wait for it to dry, hit pause, and then come back and work on it. Okay. So I'm just going around again. It does not have to be perfect, not by any means. You want all your brush strokes to be horizontal because this is the wall behind the shelf where these are sitting. So once you get in here and curved, you can even use a little round brush for this if you want. I'm not worrying about the sticks that are holding the hearts up. I'm just worrying about the hearts themselves. And I continuously go back and pick white and blue up with my brush, putting one corner in the blue and one corner in the white, not over mixing the paint because we want to see all the various shades. Now, if you don't have enough blue, you can pick up more blue. If you don't have enough white, you can pick up more white and vice versa. And it's really up to you how dark or how light you want your painting to be. So I'm going to continue. Painting in all these elements. And again, I'm just going to go around. I think I'm going to go over the leaves this time. We'll be able to put the leaves in easy enough. But I'll keep the circles out. There we go. And again, we're coming down here in between the jar. Don't worry, because like I said, we traced these flowers here to be smaller than they're actually going to be. So when it comes time to paint those, our burgundy, red, whatever color we're going to make them is going to go right over the blue. Okay, I'm picking up white, I'm picking up blue. We don't want to overmix. I put my computer on do not disturb. I don't know why I'm getting notifications and I don't even know what they are. Okay, so I'm just working in. Don't worry if you don't have full coverage on your canvas, because our canvas is white. So if there are spots that we miss, it's totally okay because white is a color and that's okay. If you have spots that are too dark, you want to go back and add a little bit more white, you can. If you have spots that are too white, you want to go back and add a little bit more blue, you can. Totally up to you. So like I said, I'm going right over my leaves here. And I'm keeping all of these lines, all my background, horizontal lines. And I turn my canvas to the side because if we had our canvas out like this and we were trying to go horizontal, our arm naturally would windshield wipe and our background would be curved. So if I turn my canvas sideways and pull down with these lines, it's more likely that my lines will stay horizontal and not start to have like an arc or an arch to them. So that is why I turn the canvas and do not leave it right side up when I want to do these long horizontal spaces. You'll really notice it. I could have waited until I got to the top, because you would really notice it here. So it is so much better. Now I have this long part up here. It is so much better to do this part pulling down and stroking up than it is to keep it vertical, because your arm will naturally want to windshield wipe, and then these lines will not be straight. They will be a little crooked. I'm going to come in here. I want to just outline the top. Outlining helps my eye focus on where my paint needs to be and not be. So I paint like I color, and if it's at all possible, I will go in first thing and outline whatever elements I can outline first before I get started painting. This way, it helps guide my hand, it helps guide my eye, and less chance of painting something a color that it's not supposed to be. However, because we are dealing with acrylic paint and it dries so fast, you can basically fix anything. So I don't worry about mess ups or mistakes, and you shouldn't either. It's art. It should be fun. In art, it can't be wrong because art is very subjective. And with acrylic paint, we can go back and fix or enhance anything. I hate to say fix. Usually I only use the word fix when it's an actual fix, like I dropped my brush where it didn't belong while I was trying to paint. Other than that, I just like to use the word enhance. Maybe you want to tweak something a little bit, but hardly ever fix. And believe me, I have put my hand in my artwork. I have dropped my brush numerous times. I've dripped water on my paintings. So yes, there have been occasions where I have had to fix, but I just don't like that word. I'd rather use the word enhance or tweak. Okay, so this part here is a little shady and a little bit dark. So I'm going to come in here with a little bit of white and lighten it up. Now, don't worry if you're using cobalt blue and white like I am, and yours is a totally different color, that is okay. It could definitely be, maybe I mixed mine darker or lighter than you did. However, it could also be our monitors, because our monitors will be different. What is a certain blue on my monitor may be a darker blue or a lighter blue on your monitor and somebody else's monitor. So we don't get hung up on that, because it is impossible to have these true colors and have everyone's monitors and colors match. Okay, so if yours is looking different, that's okay. Could be a lot of reasons for it. And one of them could be technology. Okay, so I didn't paint my edge. You can use the same colors that we used, the blue and the white. You can just use white, whatever you want to do. It's totally up to you if you want to paint your edges or not. Sometimes I do them to be contrast. Sometimes I do them to match. Sometimes I do them really, really whimsy. If you've seen any of my painting lessons, I will do dots and stripes and all kinds of whimsy designs on my edges. Okay. So I'll just do that one for now. And get up here on the top a little bit. Okay. So now I'm going to wash my brush out. I'm going to wash it really good in a cup of water, and then we're going to give it a squeeze in our paper towel. I try to pull it like a sandwich. Oh, can you hear my cat? My cat gets very vocal this time of night. I don't know why, but she's fine. Okay, so I'm going to put out a little bit of the dark brown. It's black. I'm going to put out black. I'm going to put out a little bit of our dark brown. Let's get rid of that. Okay, I have out some white, and I'm going to put a little bit out of this cafe latte, which is my medium brown. And I'm also going to put out a little bit of this fawn or linen or light brown, whichever that we have. Okay, so I have my three values of brown: the dark brown, the medium, in this case it's cafe latte, and then the fawn. Okay. Again, I'm going to turn, and you can use the same brush, you can use a bigger brush, whichever you want, and I'm going to load it up with the cafe latte. Oh, actually, I'm loading it up with the dark brown, sorry. And again, I'm going to go in here, and I'm going to outline the bottoms of my jars, the sides. A little bit in there, a little bit in there. And I'm just gently okay. So now I've outlined the bottom, pick up my dark brown. I'm going to dip a corner into my cafe latte. And again, this is a tabletop. We want it to be horizontal. So I am using my canvas on its side for the same reason that we did it on the top on its side. We don't want to windshield wipe. I'm using the dark brown and the cafe latte to start with, and I don't want to overmix. I want to be able to see the various colors, the dark and the light. And we're going to get to the fawn in a minute. I'm just doing the brown, and then I'm going back in and I'm picking up the other corner with the cafe latte. And we're doing horizontal strokes. We don't want to overmix. We want to see all the different shades of brown. That's why I don't mix on my plate sometimes. That's why I just put it on my brush. This way I don't overmix, and we get all these different shades. Instead of two colors of brown, we're having like, I don't know, 15 colors of brown. We can't see it totally, but it's there because we're not overmixing and we're using these various colors. Sometimes I can see it better in my screen than I can looking at it when I'm painting. So when you want to blend, you want all your paint to be wet. You want your paint on your surface and your paint on your brush to be wet. When you want to fix something or enhance something or tweak something, you want all your paint to be dry. So you need to be very patient. So now I'm going to just wipe off my brush. I'm not going to go into the water. I'm just going to give it a wipe. And now I'm going to pick up some of this light tan fawn color, and I'm going to gently add in this light fawn color. I don't want to overmix. I'm not applying a lot of pressure, just a little bit of pressure. I got some on my jar, that's okay, because we're going to go over that. And I'm just adding in over my first two browns with this light brown. And there we have our table. Okay. So we have almost all our color blocking in and our background's done. Okay. Now I'm going to go back to my burnt umber, and you can use the flat part of your little brush. You can use a round brush, or you can use a liner brush. I'm going to use my liner brush. I'm going to come in here in my brown paint and I'm going to roll it in. So we want a nice point on the end of our brush. We use our liner brush like a pencil. If you need to turn your painting around so it's closer to you, that's fine. This should be dry up here now, so you can rest your hand. And I'm going to go in and pull in the string by our banner. Okay. I'm resting the palm of my hand up here on the top of my painting. It gives you more control. And I'm going all the way. Hope my big head wasn't right to the edge. Okay. While we have the brown on our brush, we can go in here and add the stems to these hearts. I'm going to have to fix my blue and white a little bit there because I left it too fat. I should have just went over everything. Okay. And again, I'm going to rinse my brush out. Okay. Now for our buntings, we're going to use white. I'm going to fill my brush with white. If you need fresh white, put it out. I'm just going over here to the other side of my pile. I'm getting white, putting a little bit of pressure on my brush, and I'm filling my brush with white. I'm going to come over here and I'm going to put a corner in the tan and I'm going to work it in. I'm going to pick up tan, I'm going to pick up white, and I'm going to come back in here. I'm going to paint in my buntings. Now, like I said before, we can go over the hearts. We can go around the hearts, whichever you want to do. You don't want this. These are like burlap flags. So you don't want them to be over mixed, over blended. I like being able to see the difference. And I can actually see my heart. If you can't, we can go back in and add it in at the end. It's up to you. But we want to see the different variations of the white and the tan. See that? And you can actually see that I missed this corner up there. I'm going to go up and I'm going to pick up a bunch of white again, work it into my brush, dip a corner into this fawn or linen, whatever I have. And I'm going to move on to the second one. Pull in these corners. And this is another reason why I say, don't worry, when we're doing the background, if you get blue on these flags, on these buntings, whatever you want to call them, because we do things in order for a reason. Because now that we're going back in and we're adding in the tan and white to the flags, if you went inside the lines with your blue, we're painting right over it. So it's totally okay. So I try to keep my painters just moving along. Again, we're going to pick up some white, corner in the tan, and do our third and final flag. Outlining. All our strokes are vertical. If this one's, mine was actually getting a little too light, so I went in and picked up a little bit more white. Resting my hand down here. And I want all these brush strokes to go vertical. And again, I can still see my hearts. If you can't, we can add them back in at the end. Good. Now I'm going to not clean my brush again and go right into the white. And we're going to start painting in our jars. Again, you don't have to clean your brush. We want a little bit of that off-white tan color fawn, linen, whatever it was you used to show up. But we're only using white now. In my case, and your case perhaps, you painted in you actually outlined your flower a little bit on the smaller side. So you're going to have a gap in there for now. Don't worry about that. When we go back and do our flowers, it'll fill that right up. I can see my lettering on my jar. And the same is the case. If you can't see your lettering or your heart, your X and your O, we can always add them back in. And I'm just using my dirty brush that I had the tan paint on. And I'm just filling in my jars. And you can see how it cleans up now. Anywhere where you might have went over with the brown or with the blue. And we're just filling in our milk jars. I just keep picking up some fresh white. I'm not washing my brush. Am I on camera? Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Okay, we have our 3 jars done. Now, while they're still wet, I'm going to pick up a tiny, tiny bit on the corner of my brush of the tan, the linen, whatever you have. And I'm going to put that in the white. So now I have a tan on the edge. And I'm just going to bring my brush down with the tan to the outside. And I'm creating a little shadow on the outside of our jars, following the shape of the jar. Can you see that? There we go. I'll pick up a little bit of the tan again. I'm going to come around here along the bottom. And I'm going to do the same thing. Dip in white. We really don't need the white. The white is just to keep our brush moving. So we have paint on our entire brush and our brush can glide. We don't need the white. We're just basically going over what we already painted white. It just helps our brush move. And then, of course, we want to do the top part of our jar as well. Okay. And so we have a little bit of, let's get the glare out of there, the shading right there around the jar. I'm going to load with white again. I'm going to put in my corner in the tan, and I'm going to do the same thing with the last 2 jars. I'm just putting the corner in the tan. The rest of my brush is white. And I'm just outlining the very edge with the tan. I'm just going to go a little bit under where these flowers are going to be for now. Okay. And while I'm already this way, I'm going to do this one again. Picked up tan on the corner of my brush. Following the jar up. Always keeping the little tan corner to the outside. I go up. And then if I need to, I flip my brush and I go down. I'm going to go across the top here. Pick up some white so my brush flows, pick up the tan again, and now I'm going to do the other side. And of course, along the bottom. Okay. Okay. So we did our blue and white background. We mixed our browns and did our brown table. We have white with a little bit more of the fawn, and we made our banners dark. And we didn't clean our brush, and we used the white, and then we picked up a little bit more tan to outline the outsides of our brushes. Okay. I'm just going to rinse my brush again and give it a dry. Now I want to come over here and fix this in here where I should have went over my lines and didn't. Right, so that's it. My heart's going to be in there, so that's okay. I think that one's going to be in there too, so that's okay. All right, we just added it in there. Let me wash my brush. Right. Now you can do this now, because we're going to wait for this to dry a little bit. I'm going to, I think I'll use my round brush, or I'll use my small flat brush. And I'm going to pick up some white. I'm going to come in here. I have some nice fresh white, and I'm going to paint in my hearts. The only thing is you want your banners to be totally dry before you go and add in your hearts. So if yours aren't dry, you can pause or move on and do another part and then come back. But I'm just filling in my heart shapes up here in the banner. There we go. Put that aside. Now I'm going to get my liner brush again. I'm going to put out a little bit of this Hauser light green, or any kind of light green that you have. A little out on my plate. You don't need very much. And I need to look at my picture because I need to see where our leaves were in relation to our flowers. So I'm using my liner brush. I like to twirl it in there. Use it like a pencil. And I'm going to add in stems first. If you can trace yours and you have them in there, that's fine. I don't, so I'm going to add in my leaves. And it's just a simple leaf shape with a C and a backwards C. And then we're filling them in. Same thing on the other side. And we have a little one here. And we have a bigger one here. And we do the leaves first because we want the flowers to be over them. We want the leaves to kind of be tucked in the back a little bit. So we fill in our leaves first. You can make these all different sizes. We want them kind of small, but it's okay if some are bigger and some are smaller. Totally fine. I'll tell you guys a secret too. If you had like a mistake here that you didn't like, or a little bit of something that you wanted to cover up, just add a leaf. Nobody knows if the original had 6 leaves or 10 leaves or 4 leaves. And the leaves are just simple leaves with a C shape and a backward C shape, parentheses, whatever you want to call them. And I have a little bit of extra space here, so I'm going to add a leaf. Okay, and I left these two out because those are going to have little flower buds. Okay. Okay, now is going to come an even more fun part. You're going to get out your red or your burgundy or whatever color you have. Put out a little bit on my plate. I'm going to rinse my brush really good. Again, I'm using the smaller flat brush that I had before. It's a little tiny one. It's almost like a 1/4 inch, but you can use a round brush for this. You can use your liner brush, whichever. I'm just using this little tiny one. It's the same one I used to fill in my white hearts up there. And so now while we let our leaves and stuff dry, put out a little bit of our burgundy, and we're going to start adding in all this fun color. Now, if you're using a bright red, that's fine. If you're using a pink, that's fine. Whatever you want. These might need 2 coats. Oranges, yellows, reds tend to be a little translucent. Just be careful again, because like I said, sometimes when we're doing these elements, the more we try to fix them, the larger they grow. And then we're sorry we even started trying to fix them in the first place. So before you worry about one, do them all. Do them all. Take a step back. Hold your painting out with your arms. Take a picture of your painting and look at the picture instead of the painting. And then decide what you think you need to go back and fix. A lot of times when we're right on top of it like this, we see things that don't even really exist. Okay. My paint was chipping off my brush. Then we have these 2 little guys. There we go. So now this should be dry enough. I'm going to go back where I started from, and I'm just going to give a second coat. If yours are still wet and the paint's not really sticking and it's just kind of like moving around, just give it a minute. Okay. Or get out your hair dryer or your heat gun. So look how cool that looks. Okay, next thing I'm going to do is these. And these are just a ball. I'm literally just scrubbing in a circle with my brush. Some spots will be darker, some spots will be heavier, some spots will be lighter, and this is only the first step of these. So we're just going to scrub, scrub, scrub. Okay. And then I just want to take and add the bud. And with our buds, it's almost like the flower, it's almost like the leaf again, except this time it's a color, and we're just going to add some detail to it. So we have our buds and we scrubbed in our color there. And I'm going to continue with this. And these flowers, we don't want to have a smooth edge. These are going to have a bit of a rustic edge, a bumpy edge. So I'm just making loops, curly cues as I go around and then filling it in. And the same thing over here. You want it to have a rough edge, loopy loops. Okay, and we don't have to fill these in completely because these are going to have a lot of highlights to them. Right, then you can put that brush in. Now I am going to switch to my round brush. If you've been with a round brush this whole time, that's totally fine. That works for you. So I'm going to pick up my round brush. And we're going to start adding in some of the details to our rosebuds. And I guess they're hydrangeas. I need a little bit more extra white. I'm going to put it over here so it stays nice and fresh. Make a separate pile. Okay. So I'm going to pick up the burgundy with my round brush. And I'm going to pick up a little bit of white. And then we're going to go in here and we're just going to make comma strokes going around the whole flower. Okay. Picking up some more burgundy and I'm adding in some more comma strokes. And when you work your way in to the middle of the flower. So I have my burgundy, I have my white, and I'm making little comma strokes, apostrophes, whatever you want to call them. I'm going to pick up a little bit more burgundy and I'm working my way in to the center. Again, use your judgment. If you have too much white, pick up more burgundy. If you have too much burgundy, pick up more white. And we want these flowers to stay circular. So I'm just going in and I'm adding in, picking up burgundy, picking up white, little tiny comma strokes. And as I go around the flower, I get smaller and smaller on the inside. And add a little bit more white in here. Okay. And I'm just going to wipe it off. I'm going to pick up some white again. And now I'm going to mix it into like a little bit of a pink color. And I'm going to come in here. I'm going to add some pink to the sides of both of my rosebuds. Okay. All right. Again, with the dirty brush, I'm going to pick up some of this burgundy, and I'm just going to tap in here over what we already painted. And I'm going to do the bottoms of all these flowers. I'm tapping. It does not have to be full coverage. You just want the bottom of the flowers to be darker. And I'm just tapping it in here on the bottoms of the flowers. Okay. Now I'm going to pick up some white and I'm going to start blending in the white and the burgundy, making it a little bit lighter. You want to work fast when you're doing this because you want to blend, and it's easier to blend when all your paint is wet. So now we have a little bit of this pink going on. And again, I am just tapping in here with the pink. Maybe we want to pick up a little bit more burgundy and darken it up a little bit down here. Just tapping. I'm going to wipe my brush off and I'm only going to go into the white. And it's still going to be a little pink, but we have nice, fresh white up here. If you only do one flower at a time, you will still be able to make out the outline of the 3 different flowers. Even though they're all the same color and they're kind of mushed together, you can kind of see the separation. So don't be going back and forth in rows. Do the dark along the bottom, then do the middle, and then do the top. Again, I'm going to pick up some fresh white and add it in to this one. And now I'm going to rinse my brush again. I want my liner brush. I'm going to go back to my burgundy with my liner brush. And I'm going to go into my rose buds and I'm going to outline them. So I'm outlining both sides and then down the middle. Same thing up here. Outline, outline, and then down the middle. I have a little bit of water in my brush. Okay. I'm going to pick up some white. I'm going to add little white highlights, little tiny white highlights to the centers of all my leaves. Okay. I'm going to pick up a little bit of white and I'm going to add these white apostrophe strokes to highlight the tops of each of my little hearts here. Then I'm going to add a little bit of white on the stems. That's it, just a little bit. I'm going to come up here with my white and I'm going to outline my hearts. Even though they're white, the fact that we're outlining them in white helps them pop a little bit. Then I'm just going to add a little bit of white to highlight our string up here a little bit. Okay. Let's see. There we go. And then I'm going to wash my brush again. Now the lettering you can do in white, in black or brown. I'm going to do my lettering in brown. You can do your lettering in black. It's totally up to you. You can do your lettering in blue if you wanted to, the solid blue. If you can't see your lettering, you can pencil it on or chalk it in. It's up to you. I can still see my lettering. So I'm just going to go in here with my liner brush and trace in my lettering. Now, when you do lettering, if your paint is too thick, if you need to put out fresh brown paint, that's fine. If you need to put a little bit of water in it, that's fine too. When we do our lettering, it's very hard to change directions with a paintbrush. So I do one side of the O, and then I go back down and do the other side of the O. I do one side of the V, pick up more paint, then I go back up and I do the other side of the V. You're not going to be able to go down and up like you would with a pen or a pencil. So again, I do the one line of the E, And then I add in the other 3 lines. I'm going to come in here. If you have to do your heart in maybe 4 strokes, that's okay. You want to do maybe the curve and then to the point, and then this side of the curve, and then pick up more paint and do that to the point. Okay. And then last but not least, we're going to come in here and do our X's and O's. And again, when we do the O, we want to do it in 2 strokes, one side and then the other. And I'm pretty much holding my liner brush like I would hold a pencil. I'm going to do this side, and then we're going to do this side. I ran out of paint. So there we go. And then I think we are done. I think we are done. The only last thing I'm going to do, if my hydrangeas are dry, I'm going to clean off my liner brush. I'm going to go in here and I'm just going to put in some very clean, fresh, bright white. So the tops of my hydrangeas really pop. And I'm just dabbing with my liner brush or whatever brush. The smallest flat one or the liner brush, whichever brush. And there we go. Turn you guys around. So there is our love banner in our rustic jars. I did not do the edge. Like I said, you can do the edge to match. You can do the edge all one color. You can leave the edge. It is totally up to you. You can't even notice. And that is it. So thank you for joining me. Hope to see you again. Bye-bye, everyone.